nowadays, there is a topic very much in question and debate. This topic is about monetization of government assets. Now, this relates directly to government assets which have been created out of public money and how government is trying to put that into economy and ensure that it creates jobs. It also utilizes the assets in a proper way and also serves the purpose of private sector participation without giving those assets permanently to the private players. And this is a topic which is in question because of National Monetization Pipeline. This was declared this year itself in the year 2021 and therefore becomes very relevant for at least this year and for the coming 4 years. And that is why we discuss this important questions related to current affairs. The question states, discuss the various aspects of National Monetization Pipeline scheme. What can be the possible benefits and challenges associated with the scheme? I'll read out once again. It says, discuss the various aspects of national monetization schemes and what can be the possible benefits and challenges associated. Benefits and challenges. So first part is discussion of the various aspects, and the second is benefits, and third is challenges. So this question entails 3 different components that have to be served. Before getting into the question, let us quickly understand a quick background to it, right? In a couple of minutes. Now, government owns a huge amount of land. It has a lot of resources. It has also built infrastructure in those resources. Sometimes it is able to utilize them effectively, and many a times it is not able to utilize it effectively. So, if we have a PSU built, constructed, it might not be getting utilized effectively. The building has been constructed, but it is not monetized. It is not in the economic system properly. Similarly, defense land, government owns huge amount of defense land and it can be made of very good use, but alas, it is lying completely vacant, and it is very much possible that government has built some infrastructure there and it is not getting utilized anywhere. Similarly, with government railways, right, huge amount of land and possibly infrastructure also, and government ideally needs to monetize it. Can government directly sell it? No. The people do not want the government to sell its assets. But can government put it in contracts to private parties? Yes, it can. And this is what is called as the National Monetization Pipeline. Government is trying to sublet it to different private players and get it back after a certain amount of time. The time in which this is subletted to private players, that time they will try to run these projects, right? So we are talking of the subletting, we are talking of contracting, we are not talking of selling of the rights of we are not selling the assets themselves, we are only selling the right of usage for certain amount of time by private players. Now, not only in these projects, you will see n number of government projects that could be in hotel sector. Government owns hotels as well. Government owns stadiums. Not only these. What about the petroleum sector? So petroleum, natural gas, pipelines, right? And then we have coal blocks. All these are government assets, right? It has already created a lot of infrastructure also along with natural assets. So we are trying to utilize the already created assets, brownfield assets, not new assets, brownfield created assets already, hotels, stadiums, all of them. Not only that, look at the airports, government airports under Airport Authority of India, right? Then we have seaports, shipping corporation, all of these, telecom, right? Government telecom, all of this, since they have been either they are reeling under burden of economy, they are not being effectively utilized, or there is untapped potential in these kind of projects, right, which have already been created. I repeat, that is the keyword here. So government is giving them to the private contractors, and after that it might take it back later on, but right now they will try to ensure that economic activity follows, maintenance of these land and infrastructure follows. And this is where our question, we get back to our question. Discuss the various aspects of National Monetization Pipeline. So this is the pipeline we are talking of, monetization pipeline, and what can be the possible benefits and challenges associated. So let us quickly now look at the answer, right? A glance at the answer, and then after that we will get into the depth of it, right? So the answer here is of 2 pages, and let us have a quick observation of how ideally this answer has been framed. So first of all, we have an introduction here, right? This is the 2-page answer, 2 pages here. In the first page, we have the introduction here, and after that a quick diagram. I will show you what this diagram is about. It has been boxed, important components have been underlined, and then we have important features of the National Monetization Pipeline. some advantages have been written, 5 points, and after that, the issues around NMP, National Monetization Pipeline, they have been put in a box and 4 issues have been written and then a conclusion. So this is the framework of the answer, right? Now, this is how overall it will look to the examiner, but let me quickly make you, help you read this answer. So it says, the introduction says, with an aim to unlock the potential of its core assets, the union government has launched National Monetization Pipeline scheme for the period 2021-25. It envisages limited period transfer of non-strategic or underperforming assets of the government to private entities to deliver better services, create economic activity and generate revenue. See? So the introduction basically talks about the introduction of the scheme, right? The scheme was introduced in the year 2021, right? By the government to do what? To unlock the potential of its core assets. Now, this has been mentioned in the policy. So therefore, this becomes a keyword, right? Unlock the potential of the core assets. Keyword. It must be there in the introduction. And government has launched for the period. So this is the first sentence, right? Introduction. And what does it want to do? Before the key features, what does it want to do is in the second sentence. It envisages the limited period transfer. So one keyword is here, right? Limited period transfer of non-strategic or underperforming assets, right? Already created assets, brownfield assets of the government to private entities to deliver better services. And this third part is about what it is going to do. Better services, economic activity, and generate revenue. So this is how your introduction can actually be planned, right? A smooth flow into the main features of NMP, National Monetization Policy Pipeline, could be through introducing what it is, when it was formed, and what is its main objective, right? So after right here, we are talking about the important components of this initiative. See, I will always encourage that on the first page itself, after a quick introduction, you have some imagery presented there. Relevant image, not anything, but anything that is very much relevant to the context straight away. So this actually puts the light of the eyes of the examiner to what you have drawn. It is attention grabbing, right? So we have written down the components of National Monetization Policy Pipeline. It says monetization of rights, not ownership. Okay, very important component. Second is brownfield de-risk assets. Now these assets have already been created and they have been de-risked, right? And the third part is structured partnership. That means the partnership between government and the private body will be structured, right? How much money has to be paid at what time, when the contract should terminate, how much revenue should be generated, how to utilize that amount of infrastructure. All of it is structured. It has been put well and planned well. So 3 components have been put here, right? So these are a part of feature only, right? But just that it has been represented in a better manner inside a box. Box shows that there is a sense of completion in itself, right? So after that, important features. Remember, it spoke about discuss the important features. So these are the important features. First of all, it is going to yield a potential of 6 lakh crore, right? This is not the amount of revenue government will generate. This is the value of the complete monetization project, right? Private sector also might generate this kind of a component of this revenue. Government might get a component of this, right? So government's main agenda is to ensure that these projects, brownfield projects, which are not getting utilized properly, they get utilized properly. In turn, government will get some money also since those projects are running, right? So this is the government agenda, and the maintenance and all that will also happen. People will also get employment. So this is first one, monetization potential. Second important feature is few sectors like roadways, railways, power, they will be having as much as 2/3 weightage, total weightage in the monetization pipeline, right? So 2/3 of the project value will be from these 3 sectors, road, railway and power sector. Do remember that, right? And the third is these kind of trust, real estate investment trust and infrastructure investment trust. So these are the trusts which are getting formed through which finances will be mobilized. So in case you want to participate in any kind of infrastructure project, you can also chip in your money through these trusts. These are just like mutual funds. You can put in the money and they will also yield returns, right? So these are the private bodies. So government has subletted it to a private company, and private company will be associated with this infrastructure or real estate trust, right? So you can put in money and private sector will manage this kind of money, right? So this is the structure in which it will happen. The fourth important quality is that state governments will also be encouraged to participate, and the central government will give them rebate as well in case they participate, right? This is the fourth point. So these were the important features. Now, advantages of national monetization policy. The first advantage is that effective utilization of assets will be done, right? And we are recycling the capital asset. How are we recycling? The same asset which belonged to the government, now it will still be with the government, but it has been subletted, contracted to a private body. So we have recycled the capital asset to another person, and then it will come back to the government later. But right now, the private body will create money out of it, create finances, create economic activity out of it. So first advantage is that. Second is rerouting of finances, creating for other initiatives. Now, when the private body is taking that project, it will get some revenue out of it. It will have to share the revenue. If it does not share the revenue, the model could be something like this: 4 years of contract, and it will give 10,000 crore of rupees to the government for 4 years, flat, same sum. So this way, the government is rerouting the finances to some other project. So this is the actual government plan to reroute these finance. So government is going to create a 6 lakh crore here, right? And there is something called as National Infrastructure Pipeline, NIP, right? Government had declared this the last year, 2020. And in infrastructure pipeline, government has envisaged creating infrastructure for the value of 100 lakh crore, in which central government 39% and state government 39%, and then the private bodies 22%. This is the way in which they will participate. This is the monetary value of participation. So around 39 lakh crore has to be given by the central government, out of which if it generates 6 lakh crore from here, it will pass on that money, around 15% from here. So we are rerouting the finances. See, important point here, right? So these are the advantages. The third advantage is attract foreign and retail investors because of these schemes, These schemes like REIT and Infrastructure Investment Trust. So a lot of foreign players also will come. People like us will also join and say we want to participate because this is going to yield attractive returns. Government will be able to accurately assess the value of its asset, right? So right now the assessment is not there, but now we will be able to understand what is the worth, what is the value of a particular railway traffic, right? Railway track, or what is the value of that defense establishment, because it could be monetized then, right? And the fifth one is increased economic activity, employment generation, maintenance, and performance, right? So good advantages. Now, there is a purpose why I included these three important components. First is the feature. The second is advantages, and the third is issues. See, the question could be asked only around issues. So you can expand the part of issues and contract the part in which there are advantages, because this will in that question come to the conclusion where you write some good points, right, about the project. The introduction also is important in case criticism is asked, in case issues are asked. Introduction is also important. So that is why we have include some important features so that you are able to solve diverse range of questions originating from National Monetization Pipeline, right? So now, if the question is asked only around advantages, then you will expand this part, right? And you will also give examples, just like I spoke of examples of defense structure, and then I spoke of the power sector, hotel, other industries. So now these are the issues. This has been presented again in a pictorial format, right? Issues around NMP, National Monetization Pipeline. The first issue is identification and segregation of the government assets into monetizable and vis-a-vis under government control. Now see, this point states that how will we able to understand if this railway line can be monetized, it can be given to the private body, or if government should be maintaining it. What is the criteria? So this identification and segregation becomes very tough because government has huge amount of assets, and out of that, what is the criteria to be done, right? For example, profitability is one criteria. Excess or shortfall in human resources is another criteria, right? Not being able to maintain it is another criteria. Populist demand is another criteria. So how will the government be able to segregate this? Just like government sold its stakes in Air India, how is the government going to segregate the monetization of the assets here? So this is one issue. Second issue is the ethical challenge, which is about how the government is trying to monetize the assets. See, these assets have been created out of public money only. And now government, instead of doing some social welfare activities for people, it is handling these projects out to private bodies. And private bodies will again, what will they do? They will try to generate revenue and profit for themselves. This is their main agenda. But they are going to generate profit out of whose pocket expenses? Public expenses only. Public initially funded this project, right? It gave out of its own tax money so that it could get welfare from the government. Government is not able to maintain it, private body will do it, but private will also look forward to profits. And these profits will again be extracted from public resources, people's pocket. So this is ethically an issue here, right? So this issue must be pointed out, very important issue. The third one is removal of encroachment. See, a lot of government land and government bodies have been encroached by public, right? By private bodies. So resistance from worker unions, they're also there. They think that now it will be semi-privatized, so we will have to perform better or whatever it could be, right? So private participation, dispute resolution, those are the things that can be some issues around national monetization pipeline. And then over ambitious targets. See, government also always tries to overestimate what it could get. So right now it says 6 lakh crore, and for the first year, this year itself, for the just 4-5 months that were left after this policy was announced, it had announced 88,000 crore to be given to government. Monetization of 88,000 crore rupee projects by this year itself in just 3-4 months. This is over ambitious targets, because the government primary agenda should not be to gain money. It should be to ensure that the private sector feels lucrative, feels that it is a lucrative project and they could participate. That they should actually make them come to the project and not make these projects over ambitious. Also, they're low value projects. For example, if government says कि ये 2-lane road है, if this is a 2-lane highway and government says that you private body take it up and give me 10,000 crore rupees and maintain it for 4 years and take the toll, taxes, everything you collect, will that private body take that 2-lane highway or not? It might not. Why? Because 2-lane highway are places where less traffic will be there. They will not find that route profitable, and government has still monetized that project. Government has also put some monetary value to that project. So these kind of projects, for example, hotels. Now these are good examples. You should be using these examples everywhere, right? So hotels, these are the times when hotels are not in profit, right? They're running in losses. And if government tries to monetize these projects, will the private entity take them for a good amount? Will they give a good amount to government? No. So we have mentioned 4 important issues here, clubbed. They are clubbed. A couple of issues are also clubbed into one of them. So these are the issues, so that you can point out these issues also in the answer. See, the conclusion now. The conclusion has to be some vision oriented or something that also shows the light of the path, right? So the vision for participatory and private sector involvement in generating revenue through asset monetization could become a reality. This vision that we are presenting, it could become a reality if government prioritizes lucrative pricing and interest of all stakeholders. So this is a good way you can end this answer, right? A couple of wisdomful points given. Lucrative pricing is one, and checking the interest of all stakeholders. One good example is, are private sector getting their profits well or not? Decent amount of profit or not? Because if they don't get profit, they will not join in at all, right? This is one. Private sector. What about public? Does public need that project? In case private sector is all it's set to go. But if public does not need that project, then what is the utility of government monetizing that project at all, right? It is a waste of resources, waste of this kind of contract, and it will also not yield profits in the mid and long-term run. So now let's look at the question again and analyze it at a different level, right? We have discussed the various components. Now it says discuss the various aspects of National Monetization Pipeline scheme. What can be possible benefits and challenges associated with the scheme? Now, one important thing that mistakes that can be done is you focus more on benefits. You focus more on the features of various aspects of the scheme, and then you are left only with the 1 or 2 sentences for challenges. Now, this is where you should have caution, right? So try to manage, try to discipline your word limit here. So this is what is this ideal answer, model answer going to show you, right? We have tried to curtail. When I wrote the answer, I ensured that I curtailed the length to around 2/3 of a page at maximum per topic, right? So this is how you are going to handle this, right? So in case there are 3 components, you have to look at it from that perspective. In case there are only 2 angles, what are the challenges, or critically discuss the issues associated with national monetization policy. Accordingly, you will handle this, right? You will expand some parts and you will contract some parts. So these are the kind of common mistakes that students do in exam, right? They will expand one part, they will contract the other part. This is not required. You have to balance each of them. This is one. The second good thing that can be picked up from this is the utility of the examples, right? So right here, I've mentioned quite a few examples, right? For example, the two-lane highway projects, hotel, these are not going to yield advantages for monetization, right? Not only that, when we are talking of identification and segregation of government asset, you could place an example. Railway, is it utilizable under government or private, right? So similarly, you can place examples, and they are the ones that will serve the purpose of adding half or 1 mark extra to your answer. And this is how you will be able to write a very, very good answer in the exam conditions as well, right? So also look at the introduction and conclusion. The conclusion has got to present some vision, some wisdom, something that is showing some positive aspects of the whole chapter of National Monetization Pipeline. The introduction also could be about defining what the scheme is, or what is its main objective, agenda, when was it launched, under whom. So this is what we have mentioned here. Another good thing that you can point out from here is that the key points or the high points are visible from a distance, or at least somebody is able to they get to see because of underlining, because of blocks, because of these kind of blocks. They're able to understand that there's something written inside it, or something written above it, because of which it is underlined. So these are the ways you can make your answer a little more better and presentable, right? And I would like you to actually remember the points of these answers, because this will not only serve in this year. This monetization pipeline is going to run for next 4 years. It is going to get asked repeatedly sometime or the other in your test series, in your main examination, and repeatedly, if not directly this, then indirectly something or the other. REIT and these investment models, right? These are going to get asked in some or the other question, and you will have to present these cases only. If not in this answer, then indirectly in some or the other answer, right? So this is how we understand National Monetization Pipeline, its various aspects, right? After that, what are the advantages and what are the issues associated with this particular pipeline scheme?